What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Pack 16 Team Builder Conference Dynasty. All these beautiful teams, those beautiful logos, getting ready for Season 1's off-season. So what are we going to cover here in today's episode? Well, we've got players leaving, and I'm actually going to bring you guys everyone's rationale. So we got Keneal speaking, we got Dalton speaking, and Teaspoon. I'm going to talk for Tom and myself, but we got at least three guys being able to speak on their own to tell you why that they decided to let some people go or bring guys back. So we'll get players leaving. We'll also get a recruiting update, which means just the recruiting end result. I'm not going to show you guys the week to week progress or the stages and like I'm going to family and friends this guy, I'm going to offer scholarship over to this guy. It's just too much, right? We got 5 teams to cover. I can't cover the CPU teams and their recruiting process and their progress. So just the recruiting makes sense to show you guys at the very end of how it all went down. That'll be recruiting classes. That'll be a scroll for every team's freshmen that are incoming here. We can kind of get a better gauge about how that they did, right? What positions did they target? Are there some really key freshmen to hone in on and to watch out for heading into Season 2 and beyond? And then from that point, I'm going to talk to you guys about how the custom players process works. So if you are interested in getting players into this series, you want to stick around for that because I'm going to explain to you how all that works. So that's going to come down to Patreon support. That's going to come down to YouTube channel member support or channel points, which is kind of the free way to do it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off as myself, I'm just going to use this as an example. We are going to bring back Lee Brubaker. He had a low persuasion chance, but he is going to come back. Just barely, though. He has got some playing time concerns, but we're going to bring him back anyway. I think we got a good 1-2 punch with Jaden Edwards-George and Lee Brubaker back there. Love the fact that we were able to bring him back. He's a big key cog in our system that we like to run. Of course, I'll talk about Santa Fe State's players leaving at the very, very back end of this section. I'm going to turn it over here to Keneal Mason for him to talk about his players leaving for Fresno A&D.
Welcome back to the Fresno A&D artists in the GG9 Pack 16 Dynasty. As we're going to quickly go through the players leaving stage, and I started us here so you can see we have some guys at high risk. So you're going to see this with me live. I haven't seen it for myself yet, but we have some guys at risk of transfer, and both 2 of these players, Garza Zoller and Fretwell, would be massive losses for us. And we have a lot of guys transferring, oh Lord. And we have to use our persuasion options as much as we can. We have 7 of them. Garza Zoller was good and bad, right, to a certain degree. So there's some concern here, obviously. But we're going to try to keep a couple players that have stood out. I think Hyperion Bradshaw is a must after how he's filling in for Jaden Parker towards the end of the year, and he will stay. We're going to continue to grow this brand. Hyperion, bro. Give us one more chance. Now, Fretwell with the playing style, we didn't create enough pressure this year, and I think that's fair. We were much more of a coverage team, sit back and let our linebackers and DBs do most of the work. But still, we'll still try to persuade him. He's one of our better players. And he's decided to stay. Wow, okay. So we'll have to see if we can get him some more playing time or get him, hopefully he takes a big jump in the offseason. We have also Jackson Hayden, a receiver. It didn't see too much time, I believe, last year. But still, with the loss of Deshaun Brooks, going to need as many receivers as we can get. And he has not been persuaded. He wants more playing time, and he might not get it, and that's fair. So best of luck to him in his next destination. Garza Zoller would be a big one. The persuasion chance, is very low, but we'll give it a chance anyway. And nope, he has not been persuaded, so we will lose him. But we did recruit a fair number of offensive linemen and things this year, so we are prepared for that. Now, looking at who else it is here, we have again a couple juniors, in the low 60s, so probably will let them go. So, to recap, Travis Garza-Zoller is going to be leaving, transferring due to pro potential, which is going to be a blow to our offensive line, as he was one of our better offensive linemen, but also was notorious for holding. So maybe we'll get an update there somehow. Valdez Fretwell does stay, even though he didn't want to initially, due to playing style, but we're going to try to see if he can have a bigger year this year, and I'm going to challenge him, right? Obviously, you're staying, okay, due to the playing style. If us not getting enough sacks, then get more sacks. Jackson Hayden will be leaving due to playing time concerns, and hey, that's fair. There are some guys ahead of him, Robert Hunt, guys like that kind of jumped him, or Ryan Hunt, excuse me, guys like that have jumped him on the depth chart. Hyperion Bradshaw will stay as well to be the backup running back. Then we have, again, Verganelli, Mailer, Romeo Crooks, and Jake McInnes, who will all be leaving. Right? Guys, we kind of feel see that will be part of the future of the team anyways. They're probably going to get cut regardless. But guys leaving, players leaving. Deshaun Brooks had a hell of a year, man. Hell of a year. 74 overall. You wouldn't expect him to have as big of a year as he had, but working out of the slot. 84 catches, 1,364 yards, and 14 touchdowns. What a year, and we're going to miss him dearly. We're going to miss him dearly, and that's tough. Some others are going to go by overall here. Elijah Sterling was starting offensive lineman for us. Gabriel Pruitt, who had a really strong year. We'll look at his numbers in a second. Parker Moscoso. He'll be gone as well as the kicker, who was really good. I have not recruited a kicker, so that's something I'm gonna need to do in the transfer portal. Woodfork, decent D lineman, and that's pretty much it.
Got some good players relieving. Wyatt Granville here going in round 2. Guy was a pretty darn good ball player for us. Let's go look, because we got Camden Bones, Cameron Kennard, Robbie D'Antonio, Marcus Loveland, Shante Spears. Most of these guys down here didn't really see the field. Seymour was a starting tight end, but he wasn't that good, so we're not going to really miss him too much. Johnny Gallows, I'm not going to convince to return. He's a 44 overall tight end that never saw the field. Not really concerned. He can go try to play somewhere, I guess. Jair Ortiz, though, is one that I might be convincing to come back. Round 3, it's a pretty early round for the draft, but I think if he comes back this next year, we might be able to get him drafted higher. Let's go take a look here at some of the players leaving. Hawking and Xander Paul, neither one played. Yep, and then we got Jair Ortiz here. He was a 5-star. He's a junior, star development. He still has a lot of room to grow. I think he was one of our top receivers. Yeah, 63 catches, 938 yards, 12 touchdowns. It's a long of 92. I feel like this is somebody that we can easily get up to being a 1st or 2nd round pick next year. So I think we're going to go ahead and convince him to come back. The other receiver that we're losing is Robbie D'Antonio, who really didn't play very much for us as a true senior. Yeah, 2 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. Didn't really do much for us. We're not losing a whole lot on the offensive line. Losing Cameron Kennard. He's a good guard for us. Only allowed 2 sacks all year. That's pretty good. It's going to be hard to replace him. He isn't the highest overall, but he did make a pretty big impact in the center of this line. Hopefully Gordy Williams improves in the offseason enough to be able to actually replace what Cameron Kennard's leaving us with. But I don't know if he'll be able to replace that. And then, of course, we have Wyatt Granville, a projected 2nd round pick. Should be a little higher, but he did struggle at times this year against some pretty good pass rushers that we had against us. But in the long run, he only allowed 6 sacks. That's pretty good, considering you're playing a pretty big position there at right tackle, even though I'm pretty sure he was the left tackle most of the year. We are losing a pretty big one here with Camden Bones. This dude made an impact in almost every single game. Yeah, 24 solo tackles, 29 assisted, 53 total, 18 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks. That's a pretty good impact in most of these games. Even had a defensive touchdown, some forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. Yeah, I mean, in the A&D game, he had a half a sack, multiple sacks in the San Diego State, UMR games. We are losing Shantae Spears, which is unfortunate because he was definitely impactful this year as a true senior. He had 8 interceptions, 41 tackles, 4 for loss, and a sack, including no touchdowns. Okay, I thought he had at least 1. But the funny part about it is that before the Multnomah State game, he had 3 interceptions, and both against Bellingham State and Northern Utah, which were users. And then against Multnomah State, he just decided he wanted to have 5 interceptions and go off. So, I mean, we can't complain about that. That was a bad game for Multnomah State. That poor freshman quarterback just didn't know what to do against our defense. And, yeah, we tore him a new one. And we're losing Marcus Loveland, though. And this one hurts a little bit because this guy definitely was the backbone of our defense in the secondary. 61 tackles, 6 tackles for loss. Made a pretty big impact in almost every single game with tackles, mostly, more than anything. I mean, he didn't really have any picks, he didn't have any sacks, but he was out there. He was pretty much our blanket out there in the secondary on stopping these running backs or these wide receivers from getting too far downfield on any of their short routes and stuff like that. So he will be missed for sure. Let's go see if we can convince Jair Ortiz to come back for his senior season. See if we can make him a first-round pick this year. And Jair Ortiz has decided to stay. Thank goodness, because we need him. We need to bring back as much talent as we can so we can avenge that loss to Clemson in the first round of the college football playoff.
Hey everyone, it's Teaspoon here, also known as Northern Utah. Excuse my speech, I'm going to do my best to talk here, but I thought I'd let you guys hear from me directly about my players leaving. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. Let's see here. Okay, so we do have a guy going to the draft here, Garrett Lewis. He was our best lineman all year. So sad to see him go, but he will be a great player in the pros. Tony Newman, he made some great plays, especially towards the end of the year. Jaquavius Hammer, it's really sad to see him go. I think I am going to let him go. I think he deserves it. By far our best receiver this year. Almost 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. We also have Andy Florentino. It'd be good to have him back, even though we never really saw him out there. It'd be good to get him back. Let's see if we can. He does have a low persuasion chance, but we'll see what we got here. Damn. Almost makes me want to try and get Hammer back. You know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try and get him back. Alright, he's not coming back. Alright, fair enough. Fair play to him.
I think maybe the indecision might have cost Teaspoon there with Jarquavius Hammer. I think he might have heard that, well, we don't need him. We got Myron Kendricks. We got other options. That might have pissed off Jarquavius. So there you go. All right, let's move on out here to Bellingham State. They're going to get Derek Evers. He's going to come back. He had an extremely low chance of persuasion, and somehow Tom pulled a magic bunny out of the hat, out of the magician's hat. It's crazy. So he's going to get both these guys here. We've got Tanner is coming back as well. Blumenberg's coming back. You've got Wade is coming back. So everybody but Lewis Mason, which you can't really fault this guy. He wanted more playing time, and it looked like with Owusu and Malik Hayes, he wasn't going to get that. So now for Santa Fe State, you can see a little bit of a better look here of the players that we're losing. Montero, Mumphrey Jr., Light, Love, Winthrop, Freed, all really, really good players. And, of course, Wes Ricketts, the quarterback, he's going to be leaving as well. So we have to turn the page on Wes Rickett and the Santa Fe State quarterback there. So from last season, so we got to rely on our freshman here, sophomore now, but Josh Summers, he's going to be the next guy, the heir apparent to Wes Ricketts. So, all right, draft results here. Nobody up until Vegas State. We got Aaron Federico, who's going to be chosen in round 2. Then Weatherholt, good quarterback, going to be taken in round number 6. By who? We can only assume maybe the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe they're taking a flyer on Jordan Weatherholt as the Mahomes replacement for the next couple of seasons. But we got Buddy Bannister being taken there. Cooper McTavish, the running back, as well. Had some good numbers from across those guys. Bellingham State, nobody. A&T, Rashad Winfield, round 2. Littleton, round 2 as well. 291 overall players. Fresno A&D didn't have anybody. Let's see if we can scroll down here. Honolulu College, there we go. Tyler Stratton, Ben Lopez, AJ Lassiter, Jerry Hauser. Very good players. Round 1 to round 2 talent. Of course, Chet Trask is declared for the NFL draft as well. He got taken by the New York Jets. Let's just call it like it is with that. Chet Trask is a New York Jet. LA Metro. Friday Mutton gets taken in round number 2. And Dubois, a right tackle. And then Kylie and Elton, a cornerback, a 95 overall player. A lot of good players here in the Pac-16. We got Brad Hunt being taken in round 1, a 97 overall running back. North Pole, of course, had nobody in Northern Utah. So Jarquavius made the right decision. Junior, taken in round number 2. Northern Utah has lost some good players there. OMI, nothing happening with those guys, of course. And those are your draft results, guys. So here are your top classes by our Pac-16 teams. Bellingham State ended up with the number 1 class along with Fresno A&D. They really kind of came up the rear. Fresno A&D, they did not have a good class going into the season, actually going into the offseason. They didn't have a ton of commits. All their commits pretty much happened in the offseason. Santa Fe State was one of the highest ones up until the offseason. I think we were like number 1, maybe number 2. So we kind of lost a little bit of our place there, but we had a really good class this year, ranked 47th in the nation. Of course, getting 22 3-stars. We had the most 3-stars out of everyone. We did not get a 4 or a 5, but pretty much our class was 3-stars, which we'll take that. We'll take that, especially if they have dev trait. That's big for us. Now, the best recruit for Bellingham State was a quarterback, so we got to watch out for that. Santa Fe State, of course, we really focused on the D-line, the O-line. We'll cover all these freshmen coming in here in the next couple of minutes, but Northern Utah, really good tight end, a 4-star guy coming in. Multnomah, no 4-stars. Actually, everybody from Multnomah all the way down did not have a single 5-star or 4-star coming in. A lot of it was based on 3-stars and 2-stars. So interesting developments here across the conference. Of course, Sedona State is a little surprising to me. 80th in the country. So they are getting better. They look to be improving the next couple of seasons. You know what's really surprising to me? Albuquerque and LA Metro. That's kind of crazy. Albuquerque rated 107th. LA Metro rated 89th. Those are some low numbers for some pretty good schools. OMI and Vegas State rounding it out at the very bottom. So let's go ahead and reveal those freshmen that are coming in. We're going to start with Santa Fe State, of course. Take a look at quarterback here real quick. Patrick Linkenbach. He's a 66 overall player. Got an impact dev trait. So that's obviously a good thing. And all of the physical traits yet to be activated. But he seems like he will be the next up-and-coming quarterback here for Santa Fe State. I like him. He's definitely going to be a solid player here for us in the future. No running backs to speak of. Wide receivers, we did get one freshman here, Enrique Canada, or Canida. I'm not sure how exactly you would pronounce that, but he is a normal dev trait, 2-star high school rated wide receiver, so nothing really to write home about there. We also did get a left tackle here, Randy Hyman. He's a 64 overall player. Normal dev trait yet again, but he does have quite a bit of physical traits there, which I'm all about that. We also got a left guard, Glenn Waddy. So we are really hitting that offensive line, that defensive line really hard. So I'm really excited about these guys, even though, again, normal dev trait. And then as we scroll further here, we've got Miles Fatukasi and Jimmy West. So these guys could end up changing positions here. I might end up putting Jimmy West as a center. Eventually, he does have the pocket shield, the play action shield. Of course, those things are really good as a center with those D tackles, getting a lot of pressure on your quarterback. And then again, Miles Fatukasi has a normal dev trait. So the option shield, right, the ground and pound, that's really good for a guard if he's going to be swinging out, you know, as a pulling guard. Jimmy West does seem to be more like he's playing as a center. So yeah, it's just something to watch out for here. Who's going to develop a little faster down the road? But we've also got Dave Rashal, who's also a normal dev trait there as a right tackle. So you can see how Santa Fe State really hit hard the offensive line and defensive line. That was our biggest needs. We're going to try to build our team from the core out. So that's kind of what the thought process is here. Now, Christian Levine, he was actually a defensive tackle that I ended up position changing him over to a left end. He's got a normal dev trait, but he does seem like he's going to be a pretty darn good player. As a freshman, he's a 69 overall with a little progression there. So he's going to be the heir apparent to our boy, Gregory Bryant. So right ends, we did get Eric Chubb and Brenton Cook. So these two guys were actually really high on our boards. Eric Chubb was a 3-star player. Also got the dev trait of impact, so that's awesome there. Eric Chubb probably a little bit better, in my opinion, than Brenton Cook. Might swap these guys around. Maybe Brenton Cook is end up being a left end, but either way, very excited about those guys as well. We really did a really great job at our recruiting class this season. These guys are these freshmen will be a big part of our team in the future. We've also got Jaquan Holiday, who's a normal dev. I really wish we would have hit a little harder on guys with some dev traits there. We did get Miguel Salcedo, who is a star dev. So that's awesome to see there. So he's definitely going to be progressing pretty fast. So I'm happy about that. Also got Carlos Martino, who's a normal dev trait. Pass coverage linebacker. We always need those guys out in coverage. And we did not get a middle linebacker. That's going to be a big focus point for me this season, getting another middle linebacker in there. 6'4", Carlos Ferraro. Got the size, got the speed, got the weight to him, right? That he could be a pretty good linebacker there. Actually, 70 speed, I take that back. Acceleration's not bad, but that 70 speed, that's got to be something that we work on for Mr. Carlos. Now, Juan Florence was a position change. He came in as a athlete, but he was a little bit better as a halfback. But I figured, you know what? He's also got some wide receiver skills. He's got some cornerback skills. He's a star dev. He seems like he's a pretty darn good player. He probably is the best player that we recruited, which is kind of a weird thing to say, given that he's like a 68 overall player. But look at his ratings, right? He's 93 speed, 90 acceleration. He's got 85 change of direction, 72 catching. So that's probably where the wide receiver part is going to be a little, like he's got to work on that. But his route running isn't terrible. That's why he was mostly rated as a running back. But as a corner, we can kind of cross-train him as a corner and a wide receiver if you're able to unlock that in your coaching tree. But you can see how he's pretty good as a freshman as it stands. He's got some work to do. So I like him. I like Juan Florence. I think he's going to turn into a really good player. And at 93 speed, he's actually our fastest cornerback in the room. George Alvarez, another solid corner here as a freshman. Again, normal dev trait, so that's got to be a little bit better when we go into this season's recruiting. But I'm really excited about these two safeties here, Demetrius Hidalgo and Maddie, the other guy. So we got a hybrid Demetrius Hidalgo. We actually stole him away. We sniped him away from Northern Utah. And we'll get to Northern Utah in just a minute here. But star dev trait for Hidalgo. I'm excited about him. 90 speed at strong safety. Gotta love that. And then LaMarcus Matty. I'm happy about his overall rating as a freshman at a 65. We also got a kicker, Ramon Sanchez, and Jorge Gonzalez. Awesome. Do these guys have any dev traits? We got an impact kicker, boys. We got a dev trait impact kicker. Ramon Sanchez and Jorge Gonzalez. Is he also? He's also an impact. Man, our team's going to be so good on special teams. I swear. So that is Santa Fe State's results. And I'll let you guys know how the other teams are looking here. User teams, really only. I'm not going to cover all 16 teams. That'd be kind of crazy. But this is going to bleed into how your custom players are all going to be created. So stick around because we'll get to that in a second. I actually decided that I am going to give you guys a little bit of a preview of all the freshmen that the other teams have recruited. So like you see Sedona State got a good quarterback here. Nate Gooch. I mean, what a name. 86 speed, 69 overall player. So just a little slow scroll, just kind of get an idea, get a feel for the types of guys that they acquired here. They got a lot of redshirt freshmen. They got another freshman there as an outside linebacker, a free safety, another wide receiver, a quarterback again. So they're really hitting the offense hard here, it looks like. A lot of skill position players, corners, safeties, right? Wide receivers. Yeah, they really hit the defense hard too. So that's your little preview of Sedona State. Obviously, guys, 16 teams to cover. That gets kind of crazy. We don't even really see these guys in gameplay other than when we're playing them. Of course, that's a flaw with EA. They should have allowed us to watch CPU versus CPU games, but that's just not how they wanted to do it. But I think just kind of passing by these teams and never really seeing what they did doesn't really help, right? Doesn't help you guys build the story. Doesn't help you guys understand who's who, right? So I think that's important. So yeah, Santa Fe State, Sedona State. They're out of the way. Let's move on here to the next team where we've got UMR, Rocky Montana Rocky. I can't even get them right. Let's see the freshmen that they got. Right tackles, halfbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. Emmett Averill, he's not very good. Lampman, Drogi, free safeties. Left and right. So not a very good class. Not a very good class in quantity and in quality. A lot of low overall players. Now for Vegas State, they actually had the worst class. If you guys saw that list there. And you can see kind of what they got. They got Ishmael, halfback, Guidugli, right tackle. He's probably their best player. Ethan Thompson, a left guard, another left guard, a wide receiver, kind of low on the totem pole there at 62. Boland's pretty good. Mello Boland, and then that's pretty much it, guys. DeMarcus Cash actually up to a 71. So that is a custom player, and I'm going to talk to you guys about how custom players are going to work here in this game. In this series, any freshman, not the redshirt freshman, but any freshman that you see here are up for a rename. And the reason is that I don't ever cover recruiting during the season is because if we were looking at a guy like Mello Boland, if we were Vegas State and we were really high on him and we covered him and we talked about him, you're going to get used to Mello Boland, right? Just for him to end up being renamed, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So if he's renamed Doug Gold, you're going to be like, what happened to Mello Boland, right? So I don't cover the recruiting. It's not like we can cheese the recruiting, but yeah, that's just kind of, and I'll talk to you guys about how it works here towards the end of the video. But that's Vegas State. They did not have a very good recruiting class. So now we're back up to the top of the list. Let's head on out here to Albuquerque and take a look at what they did as far as freshmen are concerned. So they did get some renames here. They did get some of our custom players renamed. So DeMarco Selvia, 73 overall. We got J.J. Jewell, Ben Jennings. They had a really good class. Very good class. A lot of high 60s, low 70s coming in here. because they had such a great season. Rico Manuel, left end. Look at the speed number for him, 79. You got Ty Tyrell. That is a renamed player. Channing Fouts, Steven Ankra. And that was pretty much it. So they didn't have a ton of freshmen coming in. Not as many as Santa Fe State, but man, you know, comparing to Vegas State and comparing to UMR, they're about the same. Number of quantity, Albuquerque didn't have that many freshmen coming in. But the quality, that's what's different between an Albuquerque Arrows program and a Bighorns and Banditos program. What about Anchorage? What do we got here? Zach Bolin is a 53. Angerer, 53. 53 for Scroggins. 53 for O'Connell. So they're getting the quantity, but not the quality. The Anchorage Hawks kind of failing here. Frederick Robinson. We've got Ethan Steven. We got Paul Panos. Dwayne Macari. Yeah, man, just there's not a lot there. Not a lot there. Ethan Grunkenmeyer, 75 overall freshman. Red shirts. A lot of red shirts here for the Anchorage Hawks. Now, I don't know if if the CPU, like I know that Johnny Stake is a custom guy that was red shirted in season 1. So I don't know if at this stage, like, was Tristan Redwood a guy that came in this year and the CPU said we're red shirting him? I'm just not sure, because if you actually go back, if you back out, we are in the red shirt stage. So I don't know if I can actually see if Anchorage has declared their red shirts already. I don't know how that works for the CPU. Not sure. But either way, doesn't really matter. As we move on to the next team, we got Bellingham State, sort by freshmen. They're the best class, and it was primarily because of that quarterback that they got. They got the #1 quarterback in all of the country. And we'll take a look at him real quick. So Connor Gaylor, wide receiver, 87 speed. Got to work on that, but I don't think he'll be too bad. We got a middle linebacker, strong safety, punter, wide receiver, Wyatt Street. That is a rename. He has not been upgraded, but that is a rename. Antoine Tinker, Jesse Office, right tackle, that's a 71. Brett Hartman's up to a 71. Tight end, Tyler Butt. That's going to be a fan favorite. That is actually not a rename. That is not a custom community rename player. That is actually a freshman that came into the game. 73 overall tight end. That's going to be one of Tom's favorite weapons. I can just see it. I can just tell. TJ Wilbur up to a 74 freshman. That's crazy. And then you got the quarterback, Chip Edmond. Let's take a look at Mr. Chip Edmond real quick and see what he's got going on. He's got that star dev trait. He came out of high school as a 5-star, 6'5" scrambler quarterback. Yeah, he's going to be pretty good. He's shaking his head, yeah. He's shaking his head, yes. He knows it. He can feel it. And I know that Tom is going to love that, because then he can get this guy out of here. Case Kelson, he's up to a senior now, 91 overall. And, yeah, he's just kind of tired of him. But I don't know. I don't know what he's got some tough calls to make, because you got Chip Edmond here. Playing time right now is a C+, and he needs a B-. So he's going to have to sprinkle him in. He's not going to take the job over Case Kelson. Kelson's got playing time as a D- right now. So he's got a little bit of a battle here happening. I'm not sure how that's gonna play out. But Bellingham State, you know, they're in a situation where some teams would envy their position. Some teams would envy their position. But look at all these freshmen here that are really good, that have redshirted the year ago. High 78s. They're a very good team. They're a very sneaky good team. They came on late last season. I like Bellingham State to make some noise in Season 2. So just watch out for them. And again, watch out for that quarterback situation with Kelson and Edmond, I think his name was. Was it Edmonds or Edmond? Let's get this straight. Let's get this right. It is Chip Edmond. Okay, now we got it. All right, moving on. We've got Colorado A&T. What's their freshman situation looking like? They got a free safety. This is a rename, and he did get a little bit of a boost as far as an upgrade goes. Taylor Traylor. It's up to a 72. 93 speed. He's very fast. Defensive tackle Emmanuel Droge. It might be Drogi. I'm not sure. Alejandro Velasco's a 67. He's up to a 67. Get a little bit of a boost there. Rashawn Clay. They have pretty decent class, guys. They focused on the defensive line, defensive backfield. Got a couple skill position guys in there with a running back and a wide receiver. I just don't know if Carlos Thomas is ever going to make it. 52 overall, 82 speed. I just don't know. So Colorado A&T, they got some work to do next season. Well, this year, to be exact, on their recruiting trail. So what about the Fresno A&D Artists? They're all the way up to an 82 overall now. Remember, they were a 74 in Season 1. Now they're coming into Season 2 having a ton of success, having a really good recruiting class this year. They're up to an 82 overall team now. Storm Senior. That is not even a rename. That is a real player coming in here. Storm Senior. He's a freshman. Speed rushers up to a 60. 91 speed, guys. 91 speed as a right end. He might be freshman of the year. Knowing how this Fresno A&D defensive line, how they play, he could be in for a huge year. We got Willie Ferris, a 95 speed freshman. That's crazy. So you know that this guy's going to come in and he's going to be a big target for Keneal and Magic Hendricks, So that's going to be big. Plus we got Irby Stacy. Look at all of those traits. My God. They just cleaned up with the freshman guys. You got DeJuan Hewitt, a 75, a cornerback, Frank Hendricks. You got Durham here as a corner, as a 93 speed. They had a really good class. Really good class. Sean Yaboa. Man, 76 center. Pat Cole, a tight end. Diego Vasquez. Jake Leckerker. Jake Leckerker. You got Terrell Heflin, Hankerson, and a quarterback, Sean Silver. 89 speed, Sean Silver. So look at that quarterback room. You got Hendricks and Silver. I think they might actually split some time. Not like 50-50, not even 60-40, but I think that Keneal might get kind of tricky with it. Try to get Sean some playing time. He doesn't have any deal breakers or anything. But, yeah, I'm thinking that might be something that he tries to do. So let's just take a look at that right end situation here. So we got Maafala here as a senior. Then you've got McMahon as a junior. So senior might actually get some playing time this season. Just a little bit. Just sprinkle him in there. I think then he might be pretty effective. So I would, that's at least how I would run it. We'll see how Keneal decides to go with that. But let's take a look at the Honolulu College Islanders and see what their freshman pull looks like here. We got Chester Tull, a right guard, another quarterback here, Sergio Becker. This is a rename from the community. And I just don't know if he's ever going to see some time. You've got Kakoa here as a sophomore. No deal breakers. You got Sebastian Drake as a freshman redshirt. No deal breakers. And then you got Jaleel Boatwright, who is the starter after Stratton has left the program. He's now gone. He's in the NFL. So Becker, he's really got to get those boosts. He's really got to put in the time in the film room and at the weight room. And he's got to get better. He's got to be pushing against all three of these quarterbacks to end up winning this job. Maybe eventually by the time he's a junior. Maybe hopefully by the time he's a senior. But that's what Sergio Becker, the custom player, has to work with. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's one of their better freshmen that came in. You got Gideon Ursua, 66. You got Siaki Lauvau. It's kind of cool that he's from Honolulu. I love the fact that instead of like in NCAA 14, you had these guys from Hawaii that did not sound Hawaiian. This guy right here, perfect. But they got to get the faces. They got to get the faces right. They got to get the skin tone right. We need some Samoan influence here for guys coming from Hawaii. Not saying that he couldn't, white guy from Hawaii. He could have Hawaiian parents, Samoan parents. But it's just a little, for the sake of realism. Like that's what we're looking here for. Timote Tafoya, like that's another situation where a guy needs to have a little bit of a change there. Lawrence Boss, they didn't have that bad of a freshman class in here. They did not do too bad. They got a lot of depth pieces. I think that if, you want to get nitpicky, they had a lot of freshmen coming in. They had a pretty decent class. I think maybe if these guys have the depth traits, right? They've got, as far as the physical and mental abilities, they don't have a ton. There's a couple guys that have the more common ones, like clear-headed and team player and those things, but fan favorite's a big one too. But yeah, I mean, it's a decent class. I think that those guys are going to have to hope that they got good depth traits to be something special. All right, Idaho Tech, next team up. Freshman coming in, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, wide receiver. Some defensive players there, linebackers, corners, offensive line, defensive line. Yeah, just, it's again not the best class. I would have thought that they were middle of the road. Still got a lot of freshmen. They're very young. We're already towards the middle of their scroll here. Yeah, they're still a very young team. The fact that they're an 84 overall right now just kind of speaks to the fact like how good that they're going to be this year and how good that they could be next year. But they did lose Nuclear. That's a big one, guys. That's a big one. They lost their quarterback of the future. They lost Chet Trask. Chet Trask went to the NFL. Nuclear ended up going to Auburn. So maybe we'll see Auburn here eventually. We'll have to keep track on some of these guys that left. And, of course, like Romulus Suggs even. He's gone, too. So he's no longer a running back at Honolulu College. He ended up going to Clemson. So these transfers, man, it's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts how even the guys our customs have left the program. But yeah, we'll do a little roster preview here in another video. But yeah, Idaho Tech's freshman, decent, but obviously could have been a little bit better. All right, LA Metro, next up. Good class for Metro. They got a 70 overall freshman, Doug Fournette. Marquez Clay. This guy was actually on my list to target, and I couldn't get him. So Marquez Clay, I would have really liked to have him. Does he have a depth trait? He does. He's got an impact depth trait. That would have been really good for Santa Fe State, but we just couldn't clutch it up. Let's see here. Quarterback Jared Small, an improviser. Got a couple of bronze traits there. Alex Gee, a 68, 91 speed. You got Emmanuel Miles. They actually had a really good class. I like to see my freshmen in the high 60s, low 70s. Those are really some top tier freshmen. And then, of course, if they have those dev traits, the better dev traits, they're going to progress really quickly, really fast. Josh Bermudez, a 90 speed corner. Free safety there, Marquez Clay. We just talked about him. John Segal is up to a 64. Yeah, and some depth pieces down there. So a lot of wide receivers, a lot of defensive back help, some offensive line, D-line. They kind of spread it out here pretty nicely. So congratulations to LA Metro for another good recruiting class. And then I believe that should be pretty close to it. We had Metro. Am I missing someone here? We had Idaho Tech, Honolulu College, Fresno A&D, Metro. Anybody in the M's? Multnomah. Here we go. Multnomah State. Looks like they don't really utilize their red shirts that often, do they? Decent class. Mid-60s. Had a couple guys in the high 60s here. A punter. Low 60. But left guard, left end. Cornerback. Mello Quinn. Parker Kelly's a good one. That's a custom rename, by the way, from one of our patrons. It's up to a 71 overall player. So Parker Kelly, watch out for him. They just didn't have the numbers. They did not have the number of freshmen coming in. So whether that was due to like playing time or some type of like brand exposure, something like that, they just didn't. They didn't get enough players in. But it doesn't hurt them. They're still an overall 84 overall team. They're looking pretty good for this year. What about North Pole? Good old North Pole. Josh Bellows, a 60. A 73, Carmelo Yoder. Okay. That's a really good player. Carmelo Yoder. Except he's got a normal dev trait. I still love those uniforms. They're wearing Santa Claus gear with wrapping paper as their pants. Crazy. Darrell Brink, 71. There's Yoder, 54, 62 for 2 outside linebackers, 56, left tackle. Ooh, yeah, and then now we're down to sophomores. So, yeah, North Pole, they're continuing to struggle, bringing people in. They're probably going to be the worst team again this year in the Pac-16. Maybe it's going to be OMI, but either way, North Pole just did not have a great class. So what about Northern Utah? What's crazy is that Northern Utah, and I'm going to explain to you guys how the custom player thing works here momentarily, but Northern Utah, as luck would have it, they have the most custom players going here from all the renames, from all the channel points, from all of the Patreon guys. It just so happened to work that Northern Utah's got the most of them. It's kind of crazy. So we'll talk about it here. Dre Tummen. And you'll see some of the red shirts here. Of course, we've already got red shirts done, so I really don't have to talk about Northern Utah or Santa Fe State and all the user teams that we just covered because we got all our red shirts in. But Tummen, 68. 72 for Blunt. Another Blunt here. They are not related, or maybe they could be. They might be cousins. Tavin Blunt, 64. Robbie Clemens, 69. Josh Garvin, 65. Daryl Devius, 67 with 84 speed. D'Angelo Saps is 62. 65 for Mawson You Up. Kind of figured that is a custom player. He's up to a 65. So that's one. We got a second one. Daryl Johnson Coolian, another wide receiver, up to a 66. Yeah, they had actually a really good class. For a team that just barely made a bowl game, it must have been the game that they won. The bowl game that they won really pumped people up, to get excited about Northern Utah. But look at Ziggy Holmes. He's up to a 73. That is a custom rename. And so is Brady Beardmore, a 65 overall quarterback. So you can see how many customs that this team has for freshmen. Beardmore, Holmes, Johnson Coolian, Yoop. I'm going to say Yoop. It's You Up. I get it, but it's Yoop for me. And then, yeah, that's how many custom players that they got so far. It's crazy. Still more to go, by the way. Still more to go if you guys are interested in using your channel points, or if you'd like to become a Patreon member or YouTube channel member. Of course, that is an option. But Northern Utah should be a lot better this season. Look at their overall rating. 87, 89 on offense. This team should have a heck of a better year. They should not be barely making a bowl game. They should actually be competing for a Pac-16 championship. So we'll see how Northern Utah is going to do this year. But what about OMI? What happened with OMI? Well, it didn't get much better. They're sitting here in the low 60s, high 50s, but this is their best player that they got. Eric Cutler, a 76 overall quarterback, 96 agility. So you know what? I'm anxious to play that guy. That was their class. Low 60s, high 50s, but then this guy was the standout. Eric Cutler. He's immediately the starter. Remember when I was telling you guys? They need to get some playmakers. They need to get recruiting heavily and hard. Look at the amount of quarterbacks that they brought in. They got in Derek Pop. I believe he was a transfer. Yeah, you got DeVita here. Tony DeVita, sophomore red shirt. I can't tell. I just haven't been around the game enough. I don't know if he's not going to have any stats, but yeah, I don't know if he's a real player or not. But anyway, so Pop, I think, came in as a transfer. You got McClatchy and Stranahan, who started, right? They both had some injuries there, but they were thinking that bringing Derek Pop will help because he's young. You've got the junior and the senior here. Pop, if he stays, maybe might be able to compete with Cutler, but this is the guy this year. 96 throw power. He's the best in that regard. 87 short accuracy, 82 mid, 81 deep. He's clearly the best quarterback for this team. The question is he going to have success, right? He's got Herman Granger in the backfield. His wide receivers are basically non-existent. This wide receiver core needs a lot of work. But yeah, so Cutler's their best freshman. And I just wish him well. I wish him well. We'll get some OMI gameplay to see how that guy is going to compete against us. But I'm interested in it. Let's just see what kind of dev traits he's got. He's got an impact. So as a 76 overall freshman, he might be up in the 90s by his junior year. I think he's going to be a tough player to handle. So, all right, well, we are all the way down here back to Santa Fe State, and I believe that we covered everybody's freshman. So now it's time to get into the next phase, which will be the custom players. How is it all going to work? Every year that we have recruits coming in, you can get a player. That's how this is going to work. So what I will do is I will be sorting by freshmen, and you guys as channel members or patrons, or even just if you're just doing it for free but you got to spend your channel points, you can buy a player to rename. So we've got our list of freshmen here now, and you say, Goldie, I want to rename Ramon Sanchez. That's perfect, because then all I have to do is just come on over here and rename Ramon Sanchez. If you want to that's going to cost you channel points. It's going to cost you some channel points. You can find your number of channel points inside of the Excel spreadsheet, that little Google spreadsheet that I've linked here in this video's description. So you can just search up your YouTube username and it should be there if you have channel points. Or if it's not, if your name's something else, you got to remember what you named yourself as. But it should be there. So your balance, your channel points balance, is in that spreadsheet. So anyway, most of these players cost about 100 channel points to rename. That's what I can do. If I go into edit player, that's pretty much all I can do, is just rename guys. In series in the past, I used to make an entirely custom player for you guys, and that was, that allowed for a lot of creativity, that allowed for a lot of different customization. Now I can't really do that. So I can really only edit the player's name. That's about it. And his ratings, of course. Of course, if you wanted to boost your player every season, you could do that too with channel points. You get 1 upgrade per season. Not going to talk about that here. You can message me on Discord. You can ping me in Discord. Leave a comment if you're confused on how that works. But you do have the option to upgrade your player. Now, for like appearance, I can only change height, weight, arm, and thigh size. I can't change the way the player looks. So beards, skin tones, hairstyles, nothing like that. Gear, I can change it if you really want to get super specific and you know exactly what you want. You can tell me what you want and I'll make that happen for you. But that's pretty much how it works. You give me a list of 5 teams. If you want to rename someone that's at your favorite schools, OMI, North Pole, Multnomah, you give me a list of 5 teams, and whatever team you land on, that's who you get to pick from. So if you land on Multnomah, you get to pick any freshman from Multnomah to rename. So, of course, we've already given you the slow scroll, and we've talked about these freshmen now, so I'm leaving it open for you guys to get that into me here relatively quickly, because we do have to get into season number 2, and I mean, we're already at the custom schedules stage at this point, so at this point, we're just waiting on your guys' custom players submissions at that point. So that's really how that process works. I don't think that we need to really even cover like position changes or anything like that. Training results, you've kind of already seen some of the rosters, what to look out for here for season 2. So let's just dive into the custom schedules now, guys. Let's head right in here and see what we're looking at. You guys have seen the freshmen coming in. You've seen the rankings of the recruiting classes and the transfer classes coming in. So you can kind of paint that picture, I think. We don't need to get into that crazy amount of detail for red shirts and position changes and training results and whatnot. But all right, so schedule time for Santa Fe State. None of us actually are playing in week number 0. So you can see Fresno, Albuquerque, Bellingham State, Northern Utah. None of us are playing on week number 0. So we'll pretty much just skip week 0. We'll head right into week 1 the next time that I see you guys. And Santa Fe State going to be taking on Texas. We're going to do a game against Liberty and Southern Miss. So we got the bird logos looking left to right. And then we get conference play. We do get Fresno A&D back at our place this time. So I'm looking for a little bit of a revenge game there against Keneal. You got OMI, Idaho Tech, Multnomah, Sedona, and Honolulu. So it's a decent schedule. I'd say it's pretty easy for the first 3 games. But Fresno A&D, we got a little tune-up there, these 3 games here at the Workshop, the Igloo, and then we go to Douglas Gold Memorial to take on Fresno A&D. Then we're going to get a let up again against OMI, but it does get a lot tougher with Idaho Tech, Multnomah, little let up there with Sedona, and then Honolulu to finish out our season. So it's a good schedule. I'd probably rank it about a B-, maybe a B. Maybe that's a little too low. Probably a B. But we're going to have a challenge there for a little bit. Now, for Fresno A&D, you get San Jose State, UCLA. So 2 California teams that they got to go up against. Then they get tested against number 1 Notre Dame in week number 4. So we've been playing about a month. And then they get number 1 Notre Dame. So that should be a tough test. Then they get Metro, Honolulu, Multnomah, then a user game. That's not easy for Keneal and the Artists. So we'll see how that they fare against a pretty tough schedule to start the first 2 months of the season. Little let up there with Sedona and OMI and then Anchorage, but Idaho Tech and Northern Utah, definitely a much more improved Northern Utah team. Could go down to the wire there against Fresno A&D. All right, Albuquerque. What do we got here? We got Arizona. So they actually went out to Arizona last season. Arizona's going to do a home and home here. They're going to go to Four Corners Field and play the Arrows here in week number 1. Then they get a little rematch here in week number 2 for Clemson. Try to get a little payback there. Conference play begins for the Arrows in week 3. Out of conference game there. Easy one against Charlotte, Bellingham, Sedona, Vegas, Northern Utah. So they get 2 user games. Bellingham State and Albuquerque. That's going to be a good one, man. Tom is much improved. Albuquerque, of course, the defending Pac-16 champs. That could be proven out to be a pretty tough one. Plus, they get Northern Utah, much more improved team there in week number 10. And a pretty easy rest of the schedule there for the Arrows to end out the conference schedule outside of LA Metro. That'll be their toughest test in that 4-week span there after the Northern Utah game. All right, so Bellingham State, what do we got for these guys? The Mighty Puffins. They got some Washington games. They get Washington State and Washington. They got to go to Idaho Tech at the Reactor in week number 1. OMI, that should be easy. A&T, UMR, San Diego State. I'd probably give the Mighty Puffins schedule probably a B as well. It's got that feel like Santa Fe State schedule. There's some hard games. There's some easy games in there. But yeah, they are challenging themselves a little bit here with the Washington rivalries, the state of Washington rivalries here. The battle for the state with Washington State and Washington. Yeah, so Bellingham State, solid schedule there. What about Northern Utah? So they also get Liberty. So we got 2 Pac-16 teams playing Liberty. You got Metro to open up week 1. So their conference play begins in week 1. That's crazy. So they gotta be ready to go. LA Metro's a tough test. And then they get number 9 Utah. That's not easy either. Arizona State, that's just gonna give them some trouble too. Then they get Bellingham, Albuquerque, and Fresno back to back to back. 3 straight user games, guys. Whew. Vegas State's no slouch either. They got a good offense. But North Pole, UMR, that's a big break that they need for week 13, week 14. But yeah, this is not an easy stretch right here. This 3-week stretch, definitely not easy. And the first 2 weeks that they have to play, again, definitely not easy. So yeah, that's your schedule, guys. And really, that's all that I've got for you guys here today for the off-season video. I know it was a little long one, but we got a ton of things to cover from all 5 of our user teams, and of course the other 11 that we got to cover that you guys want to know, like who went where, who did what, recruiting stuff, and of course custom players and that whole explanation. So again, if you guys have any questions at all about how the custom players things work, please let me know. I love getting you guys involved into the series. I want you guys to be engaged in that and have a little fun with it too. That's why I have custom players, so you guys can, keep tabs on your player. That's why I do the channel points thing, so you can get a little bit more involved in the series and other things on this channel and earn those so you can spend them on your player and make them better, stuff like that. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. Leave a like if you like this thing, and I will see you guys back here. Give us maybe another week to start getting gameplay in, and of course, give me a couple days to take in custom players submissions and having the community work through that kind of stuff there. So give me a couple, maybe a week, maybe 2, maybe 2. I really don't want to wait that long to get season 2 started, but sometimes that's the sacrifice you make for community involvement, right? So guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Leave a like if you like this thing. As always, thank you so much for watching, and peace.